So for the past few months, Square Enix has been doing a revisited series for Final Fantasy VII Remake, where every week they go into a deep dive on each individual chapter of Final Fantasy VII Remake. And it's a really interesting series where they talk to all of the devs who worked on the game, and they really talk about each chapter in depth, from music choices to boss battles to character interactions. They're really fascinating to read, and if you're someone who's a big FF7 fan or just really liked Remake, I would highly suggest you go through and read these blog posts on the Square Enix website. They're fantastic to read. But today marks the final chapter, Chapter 18, which, I think most people would probably consider 18 to be the most controversial chapter in the game, because there's a lot of different things that happen that did not happen in the original game. Things from fighting this gigantic Arbiter of Fate, to having a showdown with the Whispers, which you then defeat, to having a final battle with Sephiroth in this Advent Children multiverse looking area, which is honestly pretty cool in my opinion, but some people were not into that. But I bring that up because the very last question of this interview is pretty interesting, and I wanted to bring that up because I think it creates a really interesting topic to talk about. So the question is directed at the co-director and scenario design for FF7 Remake, Motomu Toriyama, and the interviewer asks, "Thank you for sharing your memories and thoughts on working on FF7 Remake. Is there anything you would like to say to fans who have been reading this whole blog series?" Toriyama responds with, "As it says at the end of the game, the unknown journey will continue, and Cloud and his friends will be on that journey for a while yet. From here on, the Whispers cannot act to maintain the destined timeline, so fans can look forward to seeing what kind of future awaits them." End of quote. And the reason why that's interesting is because we've kind of gotten conflicting information from the devs. Sometimes the devs will say, well, the story's mostly going to stay the same, but some things here and there might change. And then you get this question here, and it's kind of maybe alluding to, well, since the Whisperers are no longer around and their main job was to maintain that OG timeline, how different are things going to be going forward? And it's kind of scaring some people. Some people are thinking that everything is going to be just the same, and then you've got other people saying, well, it's going to be drastically different. And in all honesty, I don't think there's a reason to really be afraid, because we played through 7 Remake. And I kind of think what they did with 7 Remake is going to set the tone going forward. So in 7 Remake, most of the main story beats were the same, but of course you did have some outlandish new things that did happen. For example, Cloud going on a special night mission with Jesse and the rest of Avalanche, running into a new character like Roche, who was not in the original game, having that final battle with Sephiroth so early on. And even the two biggest things are clear that Sephiroth is not the OG Sephiroth that we've known from the original game. He's clearly got future information. He's future Sephiroth. He's sent from Skynet to come back and change things. This is post-Advent Children Sephiroth, most likely. He's got that black wing. He clearly knows that there's more going on than he's letting on. And somehow he's managed to come back and manipulate the timeline, and eventually manipulate Cloud and party to destroy the Whispers, which may have been preventing him from fulfilling whatever his end goal is going to be, which we will probably get way more of in Rebirth. And then there's the character of Aerith, who is still faithful to the OG version, but she, as well, also knows that something more is going on. She's got information that she can only share at certain times, and she can only share so much of it. She clearly knows that there's a certain path that Cloud and crew need to stay on in order for certain events to happen. And in that final battle with the Arbiter of Fate and the Whisperers, they're given visions of the original game. They're given visions of meteor hitting, visions of a Midgar that doesn't have any human life in it anymore. And there's even moments where, when Aerith and the crew meet Red 13 for the first time, he's scared. He's about to fight for his life. He's gonna throw hands at this group of people. But Aerith puts her hand on his head and she calms him down. And I think that's alluding to her giving him information like, hey, you might not know us, but we're good friends in another timeline. So I really feel like 7 Remake has kind of set that tone where it's a blend of new things happening with the OG story points still being intact. Now, the devs have teased months ago that some things will in fact change. In regards to locations, the order of these locations that we visit will probably be different in Rebirth and not what we come to expect from the original game. So I made a whole series on this months ago talking about how I would flesh out Rebirth and what places we would visit and when we would be there and how we would get there and who would be in our party, and I thought that was a really interesting topic to talk about. And going forward, I really think that Rebirth is going to probably be a blend of what we saw in Remake, but we're probably going to see more new things. I mean, for Christ's sake, Zack is alive now in a different timeline, and he's clearly in a different timeline because we see that potato chip bag that has a different dog on it compared to the timeline that Cloud and crew are in. So going forward, it's going to be really exciting in my opinion to see what's new in this franchise. I love the OG FF7, and if I want to play that, it's there. I can revisit it, or I can just play Ever Crisis and experience a faithful one-to-one remake whenever the hell that game is coming out, because I did a video on that the other day, basically just asking where is Ever Crisis, because it should have probably been in closed beta by now. But the idea of doing something new, the idea of Cloud meeting up with Zack in a timeline where they fight Sephiroth together, the idea of maybe not losing Aerith, the idea of new things happening, new discoveries is what kind of really makes me excited. And the devs have even said in the past that they don't want to do just a one-to-one faithful remake because that would be boring and unfulfilling. So I really do applaud them for trying new things, and not everything new they try is going to work. I personally didn't have an issue with the Arbiter of Fate whisper battle at the end of the game, nor did I have an issue with fighting Sephiroth so early on in the story. I actually thought that was really cool. I welcome more of it, so in my opinion, I'm really excited for the unknown journey that is yet to come. But that is pretty much the video. I just thought that was a really interesting blog post to read. I'll leave the link in the description if you would like to check it out for yourself. But that is pretty much the video. I am Curious Corduroy. Please leave any of your thoughts in the comments down below. What did you think of Final Fantasy VII Remake and its changes? Were you a big fan? Were you not too crazy about them? Are you kind of concerned going forward that the devs might change too much and we might get a story that is completely different from what happened in the OG? Leave those in the comments down below. I will see you guys in the next video. Please remember to always be excellent to one another.